is yours.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Zara. Give me a second. Right. Okay. So very good morning, guys. Can you let me know if you all can hear me, see your screen? Yes. Let me know if everything is all right on that end. Perfect. Yes. Right. Okay. Okay, fine. So I'll give you all a few minutes, right? I'll give you all a few minutes. Can you all just check if your friends are around, if these people are maybe still sleeping, right? Just take in a few minutes, maybe give them a call, ring them up, wake them up, right? So there is a session that is happening right now, and it's a very important session on my perspective, because I feel that there can be a question this time, there can be a calculation type of a question this time based on a maximum price. They've not questioned this area on a maximum price. They've questioned the theory side of it, but they have not yet put a calculation from this. Okay, so if you all realized last year, okay, so until the others also join, I'll give you all a small, a background of what we are doing today and what is really happening here. Okay, so today's topic is maximum prices and minimum prices. Maximum prices and minimum prices comes from unit number 3 in your syllabus. You all remember, you all study a unit called government intervention, where we look at taxes, subsidies, right? Maximum prices and minimum prices. So taxes and subsidies is around 50% of the unit. The rest, that is maximum prices and minimum prices, is the balance 50% that we will be focusing today. But even from this maximum and minimum prices, my focus today will be mainly or mostly on maximum prices. Why maximum prices? It is because, in very simple terms, there has not been a question already, right? So there has not been a question already on the calculations. If you looked at last year's paper, that was also a unique question that came in, right? Guys, anyone remembers what was the type of question that came in last year from unit number 3? What type of a calculation? Was it a maximum price, minimum price, a tax, or a subsidy? What was that? Give me answers on the chat box so that I know that you all are on track. Yes. What was the question in the 2020 A-level paper last year? No idea. Right. Some of you all do, some of you all don't, right? I see a very few people actually answering. So last year, the question was on minimum prices, right? It was on minimum prices. And then it did not talk about a deficiency payment. It did not talk about government purchasing anything, right? There was nothing like that. It was simply a minimum price. So even last year's question, it was the very first time that they asked a question like that. There was nothing hard, but it was the very first time they asked something like that. So this year also, now given that A-levels is postponed, I do understand, you all might be taking a little bit of a break, chilling around, right? But what does that tell us, or what does that tell you? That the paper is not going to be easy, guys. If they're giving you all time, to prepare, they're going to make a paper that is, of proper standard, and there can be new things that come in. So that is why we will be mainly focusing on a maximum price, and we will get things done. So on your end, guys, again, maximum prices also, just like we did credit creation on Monday, it's not something that you all could just stare at the screen and learn, right? So there are sums that we will be doing. There are things that you need to draw, right? So draw it with me, right? Do the sum with me. Send in your answers on the chat box so that I know that you're doing it right. So that I know that, I can give in some feedback. I can see how many of you all are doing it right, how many of you all have got it wrong, and then we can progress forward. Okay, so just a random question on my end. Do you all get the tute printed by any chance? Yes, anyone who has a printed tute? I sent it at around, I think, 8:40. No, yes. Got it. Okay, most of you all have not, right? Some of you all have, right? Most of you all have not. That's completely fine, guys. I prepared the tute in a way that even if you have the tute, even if you don't have the tute, you still can learn this thing. That is why I would have left most of it blank also, right? So either you write on the tute, or you draw that diagram on your whatever piece of paper. Guys, if you don't have the tute, please have a piece of paper with you, right? Because otherwise you're not going to learn this. You're not going to remember things. You're not going to know the logic behind it. Okay, so I'm not going to waste more time. We'll directly get into the topic and we'll look into every single thing in detail. Right. So starting off with this, a maximum price or a price ceiling. Guys, you all still have time, right? If you all guys, I would have sent the tute on all the seminar groups, guys. All the seminar groups it would have sent. I'm not very sure if I send it on my class groups. Maybe after the session, I'll send it to you there. But for now, even if you don't have the tute, that's completely fine. Look at the screen. Okay. So in the meantime, you all can still remind your friends that the session is happening, and you all can get them to join as well. Okay, one more small reminder before I really get into things. I've got a lot of messages about this target model paper book, right? So good news is you all will be able to get it within the next week probably, right? So there was a small delay in printing and couriering. So now all of that is sorted. So for all those who have ordered the book, right, I get a lot of messages here and there, and just if your friend has ordered, tell your friend as well that within this week you all will get it. So if there's anyone who has not yet purchased it, if you can purchase it maybe by today or latest by tomorrow, there is an online payment link as well. You all will get it within this week, right? So far I think English medium books we have around another 100 left, right? So far we have got more than 500 orders. That's English and single medium both. There is a few English medium books left. So if you all are into getting it, you all can get it. There will be a small courier charge involved, guys, around 150 rupees, right? So there will be a small courier charge. That's 150 rupees, and on our end, I think that's something we spend on our day-to-day basis, and let's not be too cautious or too stingy about that 150, because that is also at the end of the day feeding some family, right? Going into someone's stomach, I'll say, right? How to order, guys? Maybe after this seminar, we will send you all the link again with the details. There is an online payment option. There is an option where you can pay to the bank as well. And at the end of this tute also, all the details are there. If you look at this tute, the 8th page of this tute, all those details are there, right? So that's about the model paper book, right? We'll start off with a maximum price or a price ceiling. Yes, I'm not going to go too much onto theory, right? I'm not going to go too much onto theory and as to all of this. We will work on the sums, because on maximum prices, theory has already been tested. The sum part of it is what is not tested on a past paper. So in very simple terms, what does a maximum price or what is a minimum price therefore? If you look at it, okay, in unit number 2, we study something called equilibrium, right? We study something called market equilibrium. But then there are certain situations where this market equilibrium can be unfair. It can be unfair to the producer, or it can be unfair to the consumer. So in situations like that, right, when it is unfair, the government starts to intervene. Equilibrium price is not fair, right? Government starts to intervene. Guys, I want an answer here now. My first question to you. A maximum price is put to benefit whom? The consumer or the producer? When it is unfair, to whom do we put a maximum price? The consumer or the producer? Exactly. A maximum price is, you all can put in your answers. So I'm getting all the answers in the chat box, right? You all might not see that coming on your chat box because it's sent privately to me. Okay, so you all can also send. So this maximum price is put to do what? To do what? To benefit the consumer. Why? Because the government feels, right? Government feels that the equilibrium price is too high, right? They feel that the market equilibrium, the demand and supply, the price there is too high. So because of that, they set a price below the equilibrium. Guys, I'll talk about this effective maximum price. Oh, what is this maximum price? Guys, if I put just let me know if I'm right or wrong here. Will it be effective or not? If I put in a maximum price over here, do you think it is effective in the market? Now, maximum price means that is the maximum you can sell that good to. It's not effective, right? Why is this not effective? Because if you put a maximum price above the equilibrium, right? Because when you put it above the equilibrium, it will go back to the equilibrium, right? What is a maximum price? Okay, what is the meaning of this maximum price? A maximum price means this is the maximum you can sell. You can't sell this more than this. Now, for example, recently there was a maximum price for coconut, right? There was some time coconut was going very high, right? The prices were going crazy. So government said, okay, listen here, maximum you can sell a coconut for, let's say, 90 rupees. Now, what is the point of setting the maximum price above equilibrium? If you set it above equilibrium, it will go back to equilibrium, right? There is no point. A maximum price, guys, remember, for it to be effective, right, it has always has to be set below equilibrium. You can set it above equilibrium, but it's not going to be effective, right? So for the maximum price to be effective, it has to be set below equilibrium. So let's talk about our coconut example, right? So I'll explain this entire thing, right? I'll explain black market price to everything using a story, okay? So I want you all to respond. I want you all to give me answers. The more answers we get, the more faster we can go, right? Start it. Now, we'll forget about this maximum price. Let's assume this is the market for coconuts, right? Let's say 2 months ago, the market for coconuts. So let's say the price of a coconut was 120. This was the price of a coconut. There were, let's say, 2,000 people, right, buying coconuts. There was a quantity demand of 2,000. So let's say price, let's say quantity. Okay, this was the initial story. The government felt, right, this 120 for a coconut is unfair. Coconut is an essential good. Every household uses coconut. So this 120 is too much. So what will the government do in this situation? Will they put a maximum price or a minimum price? What will they do? When they felt it's too much for the consumer, what do they do? Maximum or a minimum? They put a maximum price to benefit the consumer because they feel, right, this is too much. It's not fair for the consumer. So they go and set in a maximum price. So let's say the government sets in a maximum price of, let's say, 90, right? Now the consumer is happy, right? Consumer feels, earlier I paid 120 for a coconut. So then the consumers demanded only 2,000 coconuts. Yes, according to the law of demand, when the price of the good goes down, what happens to quantity demand? The consumer is more happy now, right? He's really happy. Come on, I paid 120, now I have to only pay 90. So what is he going to do? His quantity demand is going to increase. So consumer says, fine, look here, right? I'm very happy now. The government is saying I only have to pay a 90. So consumer is happy. Consumer says, okay, I will now buy 3,000 units of coconuts, right? I will make, I will be eating, pol sambola throughout the entire week, right? That is what is the consumer is going to think of. Now consumer is happy, right? He is, pumped up. He is going, on the next day, he's going to the shop to buy coconuts now. He's going to buy, so 3,000 consumers are going to the shop to buy coconuts at a price of 90. Now, my next question to you is, let's now imagine the story, okay? Right? The price went down, consumers are happy. They decided now they will buy 3,000 coconuts at the price of 90. So now let's assume one person buys one coconut. Now all these 3,000 people are, going to the shop now. Do you think in the shop that is selling coconuts, that 3,000 coconuts will be supplied? Will the consumers be able to buy what they need? They want 3,000 now, right? They're willing to buy 3,000 at this price of 90. Will that 3,000 be there in the shop that they go? No. This is exactly where the law of supply comes into play. Remember, when price decreases, yes, quantity demand increases. Consumers are willing to buy more. But on the same side, what happens to the quantity supplied? What happens to the producer? The producer, he reduces his supply. His quantity supplied falls. So at this exact price of 90, right? The suppliers, let's say they are only willing to supply you how much? Let's say they are only willing to supply 1,000 coconuts. So this is where the first problem comes in, right? The first problem that comes in, guys. The demand is 3,000 units. Consumers are very happy. They want to go buy 3,000. But in the shop, there is only 1,000 coconuts. So what is the problem that we come across here? Is it an excess demand or an excess supply? What is more than what? What is the problem, guys, we come across? Exactly. So we come across this problem called an excess demand. The demand is much more than what the supply is. So now this is how the whole story starts, right? The whole story starts from a setting like that. Are we okay there with this basic story? Government comes in, puts the maximum price, demand increases, supply falls, there is an excess demand, right? So now there is a shortage of goods. Perfect. So now let's look into this. There is a shortage over here, right? So a shortage of how much? If I give you numbers, according to my numbers, how much of a shortage do we have? How much is our excess demand? How many units? We have an excess demand of 2,000 units, right? Okay, so how do we calculate excess demand? Okay, I'm just showing this in this thing, right? So excess demand is simply your quantity demand minus your quantity supplied, right? So our quantity demand is a 3,000, our quantity supplied is a 2,000. So we have an excess demand of 1,000, right? Sorry, 1,000. We have an excess demand of 2,000. Okay, hold on, my keyboard is playing the fool. 1,000, and we have an excess demand of 2,000, right? So that is the story of our excess demand. Guys, now, no, the shortage is not the deadweight loss, guys. I will come into the deadweight loss story, okay? Give me some time, okay? Now, based on this, what do you think happens in the market, guys? What happens? Think of the situation that is happening in the market. 3,000 people are going, right, to buy coconuts. Only 1,000 coconuts are there. There is a shortage, right? What do you think people would do now? What do you think the sellers who are cunning, what would they try to do? The sellers would make advantage of this situation, right? The sellers would say, look here, right? I am only giving 1,000 coconuts, but I have more than enough people to buy the coconut from, right? Sellers would say, okay, there are 3,000 people who wants to buy my coconut, right? So what will they do? They will make use of this opportunity. They will look at this as like, a proper opportunity to, make some profits. So what do these people do, guys? They start selling this. They start selling this coconut, right? The Polgadia at a price more than the maximum price. Guys, government is saying maximum you can sell the coconut for 90. So any price above 90, guys, remember, any price above 90 is illegal. You can't sell it any price more than 90. The moment the government starts to sell, not the government, right? The producer starts to sell this at any price more than 90, what happens? There is a black market price. Okay, so what is a black market price? If someone asks you what is a black market price, a black market price is simply any price that is illegal, right? So in our context, what is illegal? Maximum price is 90. Sell below 90, fine, no problem. Maximum 90. But if you sell it more than 90, right? If you sell it above 90, then it is illegal. You can't sell it above 90, guys. So any price above the maximum price is considered as a black market price, right? So remember that. If that is the case, what is the maximum black market price? There is something like that as well. How do we find out what is the maximum black market price? Is to find out the maximum black market price, we do something like this. Listen very carefully, okay? So at the price of 90, suppliers are going to supply only 1,000 units, right? They're going to supply only 1,000. So now to find out something called the maximum black market price, listen very carefully, it's very important, right? To find out something called the maximum black market price, what do? We see to buy 1,000 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? To find the maximum black market price, what do? To buy that 1,000 units, right? What is the price consumers are willing to pay? So how do we do this? We draw a line, right? We draw a line up. So we see, right, at the price of 1,000, okay? Sorry, at the quantity of 1,000, to buy 1,000 units, what is the maximum price consumers are able? Let's say in our example, let's say it's 150. Right? Again, how these numbers come, I will show you all when we do the calculation. Now here, I'm just giving random numbers. Don't ask me where did the 150 come, sir. These are random numbers. We will do a calculation. I will show you how to calculate all of this in a while. Right? 150. So this is what you call the maximum black market price. So what does, to repeat my story again, you had equilibrium, price of 120. So the consumers and the suppliers were fine. They were buying and selling 2,000 units. Government felt that the price was unfair for the consumer. Government said, fine, maximum price for coconut is only 90. When this maximum price of 90 came, the demand increased to 3,000 units. The supply fell to 1,000 units. There was what? There was an excess demand. So in this situation, what happens? The suppliers try to exploit this because they know so many people want to buy their coconut, but they only have a little coconut. So what are they going to do? They are going to slowly, right? They're trying to slowly do what? Sell it at a little higher price. So they sell it at a little bit of a higher price, and that higher price is called a black market price. So how do we find the maximum black market price? Guys, remember in this market, right? The quantity that is bought and sold now is 1,000 units. That is the quantity bought and sold. So for 1,000 units, supplier, okay, if it's giving at 90, but he tries to find out what is the maximum consumers are willing to pay. To buy these 1,000 units, you connect it to the demand curve. So consumers are willing to pay 150. That is what you call the maximum black market price. Yes, I could have explained this using the milk powder, but then milk powder was not a maximum price. There's a shortage though, right? But these days there is a black market that is happening for milk powder. Have you all realized that? Anchor, Rati. I mean, have you realized that this is the talk of the town with no milk powder? Yeah. So there is a small black market created there. But yes, okay, gas also, right? But I did not put that example because that is not because of a maximum price. That black market is not because of a maximum price. That black market is because of a shortage. They're playing the fool, right? So maximum black market price. Guys, I will label these, okay? What about sugar? I'm not very sure about what exactly is happening in sugar. So this is the maximum price. Guys, can you all give me another name for maximum price? Another name. What can we say? What can we call a maximum price? Then control price. Exactly. A price ceiling, right? So we can call this a price ceiling. So that is the maximum. A ceiling. Guys, now this is something that people confuse. And now when you say ceiling, ceiling is on top, no, right? So it should the price should be on top. No, guys. Price ceiling is a maximum price. That means maximum you can sell it at this. Under that ceiling, you can sell it at any given price. That is what you call a maximum price or a price ceiling. Okay, can I explain again? Which part do you want me to explain again? Okay. Give me a second. Okay. Is this story okay? Okay, the black market price. Here's the black market price is any price above the maximum price. Black market price is an illegal price, right? So any price above 90 is a black market. So guys, this entire area could be a black market area, guys, right? This entire area could be a black market area. But what is the maximum black market price? Is this. Yes, guys, when you do calculations, it will come. I will do that calculation with you guys. I am doing a calculation about maximum price, how to do all of that. That is why the session is there for. But before we go to the calculation, I need to teach you what this is, right? So that is there. Okay, don't worry. Okay, any questions? Are we shape? Questions, fine. Because if I'm too fast, if I'm too slow, let me know, right? I can move it around. Fine. So now, few things. Okay, let's write this deadweight loss. I will come. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So in these few lines, I want you to write a few things, right? That's up to you what you all write. Okay. So one is there is an excess demand. Number two is the emergence, right? We'll say the emergence of black market prices, right? So excess demand, in other words, you can say there is a shortage of goods, right? This can be another thing. There's a shortage of goods. The emergence of black market prices. All of these you all can write down. We will now talk about the consumer surplus, producer surplus, those things. What happens here because of all of that? Guys, I will come to consumer surplus, producer surplus. Guys, please wait. That is what I'm there. If you all have gone through the tute, I'm going to talk about this in a while. Give me a second, right? Okay. So now we're done with the basics, right? We will come into this. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so guys, what you have to write, guys, there's nothing big to write here, right? Just small things. You can just get a screenshot and you can write whatever that you want to write. I'm not going to dictate notes, guys, right? In a 2-hour session, that's the last thing that I would be doing. Okay, done. Be a little patient, right? I will cover, don't worry. Okay, everything is there. Now, you all can fill this table. I will be writing those on this side of things, right? Because I can't be scrolling up and down. I will be writing it on this consumer surplus and all of it. I'll be writing it over here. So on your end, you can fill it if you have a but printed note. You can fill it on the bottom. Okay. Now listen carefully. We'll start with, right? We'll go with the basics. There is equilibrium price. There is equilibrium quantity. Government comes, sets a maximum price. So government says, okay, maximum price is this much. At this maximum price, the quantity supplied is only this. The quantity demand is this much. So there is an excess demand. So what I'll do is now I will label a few things. Okay. I'll add in one more part, the black market also, right? There is a black market also that might be created. Okay, so simple thing, what we did previously as well. So I will label these now, right? So I want you all also to label this with me in whatever diagram, right? C, D, E, F, G, say H, I, J, K, L. Right, so I've labeled every single small part that is there in this diagram. Right. So we'll start off with, okay, I'll go with before and after. Okay, shall we start off with simple things? Can you tell me what is the consumer surplus before the maximum price? Forget that there was a maximum price. What is the consumer surplus before, guys? Tell me the letters here. I want letters. Now these are basics. You don't even have to know maximum price for this. What is it? It's A, B, and C. So if I'm to show that in the diagram, right? This is consumer surplus before A, B, and C. That we all know, right? Equilibrium price was that. So this is consumer surplus. So I will say consumer surplus before is A plus B plus C. What is producer surplus before? Producer surplus. What do you think? It's D, E, and H. That's also very good, right? So D, E, H is producer surplus. This is before, before this entire maximum price came. Yeah, D, E, H. D plus E plus H. Then now, right? Now this is the important part. This is what we know. Okay. Tell me economic surplus also. We'll do that also. Economic surplus before. It's A, B, C, D, E, H. Okay, plus means it's the addition of those triangles, right? So it's A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus H. That's our economic surplus. Okay, so the addition of all of these areas is our economic surplus. Now what we'll do is we'll get into this after part, right? Now think very carefully, guys. Okay, I want you all to pay very close attention here. Don't memorize areas, go with the logic. Okay, when this maximum price is set, yeah, there is a maximum price of this much that is set in the market. So now, what is the quantity being sold in the market? The quantity being sold is only this much. Okay, what do you all think? Okay, let's say there is a maximum price of 200. Okay, for the good, quantity demand is only 100. Okay, so I'll go with my previous example. Let's say 90. Okay, tell me, what is the price consumer pays in the market? Consumer pays what price once this maximum price has been implemented? Forget about black market and all of it. If they properly legally do it, what is the price consumer is paying? Consumer pays only 90. What is the logic behind consumer surplus? What is the logic behind consumer surplus? The logic behind consumer surplus is the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays. So to buy 1,000 units, guys, if you look at it, right, if you connect this to the demand curve, he is willing to pay, right? He is willing to pay this much. Okay, I'll use another color. Let's see. Okay, yellow, right? He's willing to pay this much, right? To buy the 1,000 units, he's willing to pay this much of money, guys, right? He's willing to pay this much. But what does he actually pay? He actually, guys, can you tell me what is the area that the consumer actually pays? Give me letters here. Which area does the consumer actually pay? He's willing to pay that yellow trapezium kind of thing. What does he actually pay? He actually pays only H and I, right? He pays H and I. He buys 1,000 coconuts at a price of 90. So what is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay, that is the yellow trapezium, and what he actually pays. So what does he actually pay? He actually pays AI, HI. So then what is the difference? Willing to pay A, B, D, H, I, actually pays only H and I. What is his difference there? It's A, B, and D. So this area becomes what? Consumer surplus after the maximum price, right? So always remember, guys, don't memorize A, B, and D. Remember, it's the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay, right? To buy 1,000 units, he's willing to pay A, B, D, H, and I. But what does he actually pay? Only H and I. So what is the difference? The difference is, right, A, B, and D. That is the consumer surplus after. Because there are exceptions to this. I will come to that exception later, right? For now, remember this. So after, what is our consumer surplus? It's A, B, and D. Okay, how does this this willing to pay part, I'm not going to explain too much. That is part of unit number 2. So whoever who taught you all consumer surplus would have taught you all that, but in very simple terms, I'll try to explain that. But I don't have the time to explain all of that. But what is this, guys? What is the demand curve showing us? The demand curve is showing us, right, at various different prices, what is the quantity people are going to buy. So for example, to buy let's say 100 units, consumer is willing to pay this much of money, right? I don't know how much is there. Let's say this is 500, right? Let's say this is 500, I don't know, right? So to buy, let's say 200 units, the consumer is willing to pay this much. So the demand curve shows how much he is willing to pay, right? But how much is he actually paying in our example? Only 90. Yes, that comes with consumer surplus. I'm not going to go there, okay? Right? Okay, that part is fine. Can you all tell me what is producer surplus? Which area is producer surplus now? What is the price that the producer is getting? What is the price? Again, the same thing, guys. The minimum price the producer expects and the difference between the minimum price he expects and what he actually gets. So if you look at it, guys, what does the producer actually get as revenue? Which areas he actually gets? He actually gets which area? He gets H and I, guys. This is his producer revenue, right? His producer revenue is H and I. But what is the minimum that he is expecting? Again, going with the supply curve. The minimum he expects to get is only I. This is his minimum requirement, guys. He says, okay, to supply 1,000 units, minimum he is willing to get this much. The H area, the I area. So what is he getting in excess? Which area is he getting in excess? He's getting H in excess, right? So that H becomes producer surplus. In case that was a little not clear, I'll repeat that again. Okay. Okay, this goes with consumer surplus, producer surplus. Okay, this because I'm not teaching you all consumer surplus, producer surplus. So if you are a little bit bad with that logic, and if you just memorize areas in producer surplus, consumer surplus, there is the problem. Okay, so remember, guys, producer surplus is the difference between what the producer expects and what he actually gets. So producer expects to get only I, right? But he gets H and I. So what does he get more? What is the difference? The difference is that H. So that becomes producer surplus. Yes, for those who are not getting the logic behind it, leave it, guys. Just remember, for the calculation, you don't need the logic. Okay? So, because I don't have the time to go into the logic behind everything. And if you all have any recordings of your teachers, go and watch unit number 2, the place where the teacher teaches you consumer surplus and producer surplus. It should be more than clear. Okay? So producer surplus after is H. Can you all tell me what is economic surplus after now? Easy thing. Consumer surplus is A, B, and D. Produce surplus is H. What is economic surplus? After, it's a A, B, D, and H case. That's all. A, B, D, and H. Right. That is that, guys. There is one more requirement, right? Deadweight loss. Consumer surplus, isn't it A, B, C, D, E, F, G? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No. It's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G because only 1,000 units are sold in the market. If 3,000 units, if this number is sold in the market, then yes, it can be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? But you're only selling 1,000 units. I'll come to the assumption, guys. I'll come to what this B and D part are. Okay, right? Now, what is deadweight loss, guys? This is something, right? I have seen a lot of students memorizing this. They know, deadweight loss, this is the area. But what is the logic behind that? I don't have the, I would love to explain the logic for all taxes, subsidies, how does this come? But I will simply explain this for this case, right? Guys, what is deadweight loss? A deadweight loss is where the consumers, the producers, they are spending something, they are giving up something, but no one is getting it. It's lost, right? Now, if I give you, right, if I give 1,000 rupees and you get it, right? Then there is no loss. No, I have given, you have got. But a deadweight loss means I am giving, but no one is getting it. It's just lost. And now, how do we put this into this diagram? We will go with this small thing. Guys, tell me change in consumer surplus. This thing you all can write down here. There is a small part here, this part, right? You all can write it there if you all have it printed. Guys, can you all tell me the change in consumer surplus? Earlier it was A, B, and C. Now it is A, B, and D. What is the change? In letters, he is getting D, right? He is getting D. But he is losing C. So I am saying plus D because the consumer is getting D, minus C because he is losing C. Are we okay there? Right? Earlier A, B, C, now A, B, and D. Okay, that's fine. Same way, can you tell me the change in producer surplus? It is not consumer, it's consumer surplus. Okay, what's the change in consumer surplus? Now, producer surplus, he is just losing. What is he losing? He is losing D minus D, right? And he is losing E. Fine, right? It was DEH, now it's only H. So he's losing D and E. Now, based on this, guys, we can calculate deadweight loss. Look here, look very carefully. Okay, consumer is getting D, right? He's receiving a D. Producer is giving up D, a minus D. So this minus D and plus D gets cut off. Producer is giving up, consumer is getting that D area, right? This area of D, right? Producer is giving up, right? Minus D for the producer, consumer is getting the D. Fine, it's not lost. I am giving, you're getting. Simple. But look at the other two, the C and the E. The consumer is giving that C away. The producer is giving the E away. But who is getting that C and E? No one is getting that C and E. It's simply lost. They are giving up. They're giving it up from their surplus. But not a single person is getting that money. It's lost. It's gone. So C and E becomes what? Your deadweight loss. Okay, that is how that comes, guys. I will talk about this in detail when we talk about the others also. Okay, so deadweight loss is C and E. Shape, fine. Questions, issues, problems. Fine, can we move on? Yeah. Okay, now for now, remember these, right? I will add in one more advanced concept here. Right? Before I even teach this, some people asked me this question, right? Some people said me, right? Change in economic surplus can be, yes, deadweight loss, given that there is no government stuff and all. I'll come into all of that, right? So some people told me, right? When I asked consumer surplus, some people said, sir, is B and D really consumer surplus? Is it actually consumer surplus? Yes, guys, A, B, and D is consumer surplus. But if the question says, right, if the question says the consumer has to spend some additional money to get the shortage of whatever coconut, if the consumer has to spend a lot of time staying on the queue and all, right? If they have to do all of that, then B and D will not be consumer surplus. But in general, A, B, and D, everything is consumer surplus. But if there is a black market that is happening, if the consumer has to spend long time on a queue and go and buy the shortage of goods, right? So if that is the case, then consumer surplus will only be A. But remember, if they give you a question and they are silent, they don't say consumer has extra cost, consumer is not spending any extra time, and if they ask you what is consumer service, A, B, and D, unless they specifically, guys, be very careful with this, right? Unless they specifically say the consumer has an extra cost or the consumer has to stay on queues, then A is consumer surplus. If they are silent about it, A, B, and D, everything is consumer surplus. Right? So I would have made a small note about that in the time to in the note down. Okay, right. So this is that part, right? So two factors determine the inclusion of B and D to consumer surplus. In general, yes, it is included, right? So if the consumer, yes, if there is a black market price, guys, consumer surplus becomes only A, kind of, right? So if they say in the question, they specifically say a black market is operating, but I don't think they will go into that extent in your question. Don't worry, okay? Because they have not questioned this before, and the first question itself, they will not go into anything very advanced. Now, we'll get into this question, right? Now we know the theory now. Some of you are a little bit okay, some of you are not that okay. That's completely fine. So we'll get into this theory. We'll do this question together with me, but I will give you all a small, a head start where you all can do this a little bit before me. So maybe you all will be 1 minute ahead of me, guys. Please don't look at the screen and wait. Get a piece of paper, get a pen. Let's do the question. Okay. So we start off with practice question number 1. So practice question number 1, we say QD equals 100. Okay, the following equations represent market demand and supply. QD is 100 minus 4P, QS is minus 30 plus 6P. So they're asking you to calculate equilibrium price and quantity. Okay, not something that I'm supposed to teach today, but can we do that? Can you all give me answers? QD 100 minus 4P, QS minus 30 plus 6P. Right, so QD is equal to 100 minus 4P, QS is equal to minus 30 plus 6. Okay, guys, by now you all should be able to, you all should be experts in this. You all can't be having problems with equilibrium price and quantity. Guys, I'm not going to waste time showing how to calculate this. So I'm taking your answers, which is on the chat box. So according to you all, equilibrium price is rupees 13 and the equilibrium quantity, okay, equilibrium quantity is how much? 48 units. So what we'll do here, guys, we'll just always, when you're doing a question like this, right, I will recommend you to draw a diagram, guys. Draw a small diagram, because that shows you how to get it. I didn't get the tute yet. Guys, I did not send tutes to anyone. I only sent a PDF on the group. If you're on the group, the PDF should be there. If you have not got it, maybe check with a friend. See, there's no way that you couldn't get it if you were on the group. Okay, right. So let's draw a small diagram here. Right? Like, based on the information that we have, can we label a few things? Okay, so equilibrium price is 13, equilibrium quantity 48. Guys, can we also find these two prices, the maximum demand price and the minimum supply price? Can you all give me numbers for these? The maximum demand price and the minimum supply price. Again, not this, that comes from unit number 2. What are the numbers that comes? Is how do we find this? I'll give you a shortcut, right? Okay, the long method is you say QD equals 0 and you find the P. Okay, a shortcut to, but this is not the proper method, right? But the shortcut to do is you have this A component, right? you divide the A component by the B component. So 100 divided by 4. Forget about the pluses and minuses. You get 25. And how do you do this? Again, you get long method is say QS equals whatever thing and do it, right? But the short method, simply A, forget about the pluses and the minuses, 30 divided by 6. So 30 divided by 6, you get 5. So remember those small things there. Those are small tricks that you all can use to save up some time. Now, especially in an MCQ kind of a question. So far, this is the information that we have. Are we okay with this? Check. The short method is this A component, you take this 100 and divide it by the B component. Right? 100 divided by 4, 25. This 30 divided by 6. Forget about the pluses and minuses. Ignore the plus and minus. Okay? 30 divided by 6, you get 5. That's a short method. Right? But I would not recommend that unless you really want to save some time. Done. Our next this case, it would be nice if you can show on the paper side. Okay, right. Our next one. Guys, now based on this, can we find consumer surplus? Right? That's our next question, second one. Right? How much is consumer surplus before all of this? It's half into 25 minus 13, right? That is our height multiplied by 48. Please, can someone give me an answer, please? 288? Okay, 288. Then our producer surplus. These are unit number 2. No, that's why I'm not going to show. I'm not showing all methods. It's half into what? 13 minus 5 into a 48. So we get how much? 192 or 144? People give me different answers. 192 or 144? 192? Right. That's 192. Okay. Right. Now this is all unit number 2. Now for people who are very happy about getting this right, good, be happy. But this is not yet maximum price. You have not even gone and started maximum price yet. We'll now start the maximum price. This is a question that I want you all to please do it. It has not been tested before. It can be tested this year. Okay, there is economic surplus also. Okay. How much is economic surplus, guys? Add the 2 and tell me. Economic surplus is how much? 480. Okay, 480. Okay. And also these give in rupees. These surpluses are all rupees. Okay. Just don't give the number. So say rupees this much. Rupees this much. That's fine. Now we'll go into the proper calculation. Government is implementing a maximum price of 10. What is the amount of excess demand created in the market? We'll follow our diagram, right? Government comes now, Superman, he comes and says, look here, you can't be selling this at 13, you can only sell it at 10. So they put a maximum price of 10 like this, right? So now, when the maximum price of 10 came in, right, our question is, what is the excess demand? Because how do we find this? Now, this is where now this is how I'm going to show you how the numbers came, right? Which should be divided by 2, guys. The economic surplus there. I divide this by 2. Divide by 2, with a half and half into this and this. Okay. Or you do this and you divide by 2, same thing. Okay, no worry. Right. So now, how do you find excess demand or excess supply? So at the price of 10, find out how much is the quantity supplied. At this same price, find out how much is quantity demanded. You then get the demand and the supply. Okay, so tell me how much is the, okay, so at, okay, I'll put this in black, right? At price, how much? At price 10, how much is the quantity demand, guys? Simple question. 100 minus 4 into 10. So quantity demand is 60 units. How much is the quantity supplied? QS equals minus 30 plus 6 into 10. That's a 30. So now based on these numbers, can you find the excess demand? Too easy, right? Are these problems now? Should not be problems for you all now. How much is our excess demand, guys? Everyone, excess demand equals how much? It's a 30 units. Now that will be maybe a 1 mark or a 2 mark question in your paper. That's your answer for the, okay, I'll put numbers also here. The third one, the first part, right? This is your first question. This is your second question. This is your third question, part 1. So far, fine. Guys, how do I find excess demand, guys? Simply demand minus supply. Okay. So according to our diagram, our demand is 60 units. Our supply is a 30 units. So 60 minus 30, we have an excess demand of how much? Of 30 units. This is our excess demand. That's also sorted. Now let's go in the next question. Next question is saying, calculate the maximum, right? The maximum black market price, right? Because yes, guys, you have to show workings on your paper. Don't just come and put the final answer, because then they will think that you copied from your next door fellow, right? So don't put the thing, because you anyway have to do the workings, because you can't, these numbers will not fall from the sky. So those workings, do it in the paper itself. You don't have to do it in this katu adagole, the paper that you have for your workings. Don't do it there, guys. Do it on your paper itself, right? And put the answer. So that's better. Okay, right. Number 2, the black market price, the maximum black market price. How are we going to find this? Market price. Nice to see some of you all give me answers already. Yes, what is the maximum black market price? The maximum black market price comes from here. For 30 units, right? Okay, good with blue. For 30 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? Right? So you connect that to here. So this one, right? This price that we get here is the maximum black market price. How do we find this, guys? The demand equation. You use the demand equation. So QD equals 100 minus 4P. So for QD, we put 30. We substitute 30 as QD. So to buy 30 units, we are finding the price now, guys. That is the maximum black market price. To buy these 30 units, what is the maximum price consumers are willing to pay? So put 30 and see. 30, tell me how much is the price? 100, okay, minus 4 into P, 4P. So how much do we get? 4P equals 70. How much is P equal to? P is equal to 17.5. Okay, so there is a bit of decimals here and there. Don't mind, guys. Right? Usually in your question, you will not get decimals. I just prepare this in the morning in a hurry. So don't worry about the big decimals that might come. Okay, that's how we get maximum black market price. So we can mark that over here, 17.5. Any questions there? Shape. Now we got the maximum black market price as well. Yeah, this can be another 2 mark question if you get a question in your paper. Yes, fine. Maximum black market price. Now, the second one. What is the change in consumer surplus and producer surplus after the maximum price? Okay. Change in consumer surplus. Okay. First, before we go to change, shall we calculate the consumer surplus after? Consumer surplus after the maximum price. Right? Now, this is where you need to know that previous diagram that I discussed. The letters, if you don't know the letters, you can't do this, right? Okay. Okay. In simple terms, guys, the black market price, again, I'm hoping you were there at the beginning. Okay. So how do you find the maximum black market price? You find out for the quantity supplied. So at the price of 10, the quantity supplied is 30. So for this supply of 30, what is the price consumers are going to buy that 30? So to buy 30, we look at the demand. Now, that is why we draw a line upwards to the demand curve. To buy 30 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? So we take the demand equation, we substitute 30 there. For QD, we put 30. And then we find this 17.5. That's how the black market price came. Right. Now, consumer surplus after the maximum price. Now, you all know the letters now. Remember, we studied the letters earlier. I told you the letters, but now we're actually doing a sum here. So what is the consumer surplus after this maximum price, guys? It's this letters, right? Remember A, B, and D in my previous example. So can you all tell me the area of A, B, and D, guys? How do you find the area of A, B, and D? Yes, area of a trapezium. If you can't find the area of a trapezium, break it into two small parts. Find the area of the triangle, then find the area of that small square, right? So you can do this, right? You can first find the area of this part, right? And you can then find the area of this part. That is perfectly fine, right? So you add the two together, then you will get your answer. So shall we do it that way? We'll see. So first one, the area of the first triangle, it's half into what is the height? 25 minus 17.5 into 30. That's the first half of it. Okay, that small green triangle over there. Then we find the area of the rectangle. That is simply 17.5 minus 10 into 30. Okay, so we solve this. See how much you all get. Guys, you all can find it different ways. Huh? Guys, now here I am not saying that there is a consumer black market price. I'm simply saying that what is the maximum black market price? I did not say that there is a black market price operating in the market. Don't confuse that. Okay, so 25. Guys, can someone solve this and tell me? I'm not going to do calculations with you all. Can you give me numbers? How much do we get as a number here? Can you solve this? 300, 225, others? How much do we get? 112.5, 300 and... Okay, I'm getting like so many different answers. Okay, first component, guys, tell me this. 25 minus 17.5, right? Okay, I'll use my calculator also. It's 112.5. Okay, 112 point. Oops, hold on. Okay, so this is 112.5. Okay, the second component is a 225. Okay, as you all do the maths at home. Huh? Now how much do we get as a total? We get 337.5. That's consumer surplus after the maximum price. Then can you all tell me what is the producer surplus after the maximum price? This is easy. How much is this? This is simply equals to half into 10 minus 5, that is the height, into our base 30. How much do we get there? 75? Right, that's 75. Please, is this our final answer? Yes or no? Don't stop here. This is where people solve using the method given in the book. Which method? In which book, guys? His method is correct, guys. I'm not bullshitting here. It's a proper method. Right? Whatever method you all do, you all will get it. I don't know what your teacher taught you, but you can do it this way. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you all. Okay? So in the guide, they found the area of the trapezium. So you can find, guys. You all can find the area of trapezium. So that's up to you all. Do the calculation. Okay? Consumer surplus is 300. Because I got 337.5 from a lot of people. Can you all check? Some people are saying it's 300. Can't be, because I got a lot of answers that says 337.5. Okay, right. Okay, so our question, guys, going back to our question now, come back to our question. They're asking you not what is the new consumer surplus and producer surplus. They're asking us what is the change in surplus and consumer surplus. Hey guys, why 10 minus 5? Guys, 10 minus 5 is the height of this, no? Right? So producer surplus is this, no? Right? This is producer surplus. So how do you get? The height is 5. So without directly saying 5 only, I'm saying 10 minus 5 to get that height. So into 30 into half. Okay. So how much is the change in consumer surplus? Change in consumer. Guys, how do you get a change? It's always the consumer surplus after minus the consumer surplus before. So consumer surplus after is 337.5. The consumer surplus before is how much? It's a 288. Right? So what has happened to consumer surplus? It increases by how much? 49.5. Yes, that's your change in consumer surplus. Okay, there were questions on what time the session will end, guys. Guys, I am not keeping any of you all here. If you're free to leave anytime you want, right? I'm not forcing anyone here. If you want to leave, you can even leave now. Not my concern. Session will ideally go on till around 11. Okay, guys. Now this is okay. Some people are confused with this, right? The consumer surplus part. Okay, right. If you want to do the same thing, okay, how do you find the area of a trapezium? If this is what is bothering you all so much, right? So you take the two heights, right? One height is 15, the other height is a 7.5, right? You add the two heights, you divide by 2, you multiply this by the perpendicular distance. Guys, can someone see if you get the same answer? I'm not mistaken, that's how you do it. Yes. That's 5 into this. We get 337.5. No? This might be the method that you all might be talking about. What is there in the teacher's guide or something, right? So I did not put this into this because I felt this is more harder, right? Area of trapezium, if you're going to. It's easy to break it down into 2 and do it. Might look like a longer calculation, but it's easy, right? Guys, you don't use an equation to this case. You don't say maximum this and this minus this, and you don't do that, right? Okay, I'm getting 1,000 different questions. 288. Okay, so this 288, you all were the ones who gave me the number, guys. I did not give this number. So guys, okay, to make things very, very clear, guys, right? Okay, guys, consumer surplus after is what I explained. Just okay. First of all, to make things very, very clear in the very basic, that I'm not going to waste time, right? First of all, I'm teaching this to someone who knows what they're doing, right? I'm not teaching this to someone learning this entire thing for the very first time. I don't know with how many months to go for levels. If you're learning for the very first time, there's a problem, right? So in my case, right, I'm teaching you how to do this question to, a little bit of an advanced thing. So I will not be going into very basics because I don't have time to go into the very basics, right? So that is why I might skip small stuff. You're missing your basics means it's not unit number 3, you're missing your unit number 2 basics, right? So check that. Okay. Okay, right. I know, guys, I also want to skip and go forward, but then there's so many messages that comes on the chat box asking for small things, right? Okay, can you tell me the change in producer surplus? Okay, how much is it? The producer surplus earlier, okay, now it's 75. The new one is a 192. So what has happened, guys? Guys, don't give a number when they say change. You need to say it has increased or decreased. That has to be very clear, guys. Because when you say change, you can't say change 170. Not proper. So it has decreases by 170. So be very clear with those. That's also done. Okay. And the final one, what is the value of deadweight loss? So how do you find the deadweight loss? The deadweight loss. Okay, so that's your fourth part of the question. How much is our deadweight loss, guys? Deadweight loss is how much? In this case, 2022 people also. I do understand that 2022 people are also here, right? But it, okay, first of all, it's mainly for the 2021 batch. Yes, 2022 people are there, but even for 2022 people, you all would have learned this, right? Because this is unit number 3. Okay, guys, you don't have to put the formulas if you have drawn a diagram. You don't have to write maximum demand price minus this, minus that. All of that is not needed if you have a diagram to back your thing. Then they know what numbers you're talking about. Okay, how much is our deadweight loss, guys? It's half into the height of the thing is 17.5 minus 10, that's 7.5. No, you can use the equation, no problem at all. Use the equation, do what you want. That's totally up to you all. Into 18. So how much do we get? That's a 67.5. Yes, but I will recommend not to go with the equation because equations you will get it wrong, guys. Okay, I'm not getting a few questions. Okay, done. This is your calculation. This could be a 8 or 10 mark calculation that might come in your paper this year because it has not been tested so far. Yes, no. Can handle, can't handle. Okay, I have two options now. Okay, we can do a question similar to this, right? Once more question with a different number. Okay. Okay, how did these numbers come, guys? What is economic surplus after you simply add this and this, consumer surplus and producer, right? Guys, how does 18 come? 18 is this area, guys. This is the height, right? 48 minus 30. This is the base, 17.5 minus 10. That's how the 7.5 came. Okay, so 7.5 came, guys. Now, this is why you all need to know the areas. Yes, so 7.5 is this. The 18 is this, right? So you find this. Yes, you can do that as well. No problem. You can add the whole consumer producer and then minus. Perfect. Okay, right. Okay, I have two options for you all, right? So give me let me know what you all want. Okay, we can do one question like this, one more question like this, but then I will not have time to touch on minimum prices. The second option is we are done with this here. We go to minimum prices. What do you all want to do? Minimum prices, right? So most of you all are going with minimum prices. So I'm going on to minimum prices, right? Because in 2 hours I need to finish it off, and we don't have that much of time. Okay, right. So this is this, guys. Get a screenshot, practice the question on your own, right? Do a bit of other questions also that you all can find. Trust me, it's an easy one. It's not that hard. If it's hard, means you don't know a basic somewhere down the line. So first go through unit number 2 and the other stuff. Then this becomes very much easy. Okay, go in the next question. The next one is minimum price. Yes, minimum prices. I'm not going to go into calculations, right? Because minimum prices, I feel more questions have been asked on the paper also. So you all can do a few past paper questions because I don't have the time there. But I will teach you the theory. I will show you which area is consumer surplus, which area is producer surplus. All of that I will show you. Okay, maybe some other day if we have another session, right? If I am invited, maybe we can do a few calculations. But within the next 45 minutes, I don't have the time for calculations. Okay, right. We'll go with minimum prices. Okay, breathing. We looked at maximum prices, right? So far, what we did was maximum prices. We talked about, different things. We are okay with that. Now, we'll go into the next concept, that is minimum prices. When is a minimum price put, guys? To help whom? A maximum price was put to help the consumer. A minimum price is put to help whom? To support whom? To give the benefit to which guy? To give it to the producer, right? So a minimum price is put when the government feels that the price set in the market is too low for the producer. Now, for example, for essential goods, you have farmers and people like that. They're hardly doing something, and let's say they're producing some rice, they're growing some rice here, right? But they're not even getting enough money to do this, right? They're putting so much of effort, but they're getting so little money. So in that context, what happens, guys? The government intervenes. They put up a minimum price. So now I'll explain this story all in one in a diagram. Now, this was the case that was tested in the 2020 A-level paper. Guys, I'm not going to do the calculation here. This exact thing, right? But I'm going to explain now. The calculation, the question for it is in the 2020 paper. Guys, and also one more thing, guys. If you all find any past papers, right? Any past paper discussions, if there's a past paper question on minimum price, maximum price, anything between 2011 to 2020, right? I don't have the time to discuss it now, but I have discussed it and put it on my YouTube channel, right? So you can check on my YouTube channel. That is iTutor SL, right? On YouTube, the recording should be there. So now, for example, let's say 2020, there is a minimum price question, right? Which I will not be discussing today because I don't have the time. But that discussion is there on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube, you can click on the thing, and you can find it. Right? So that is up to you. Right. We'll get it this. Minimum price, this thing. Okay. So a minimum price is put for what case? A minimum price is put to support whom? To support the producer. So government feels that this price is not enough. Now I will take an example of rice. Please understand this with an example, right? So let's say the kilo of rice, it's only 60 rupees. right? Let's say 60 rupees in the market. So there are 1,000 people buying rice. 1,000 kilograms of rice is demanded. Guys, understand the story. Please don't memorize. Okay? I'm repeating. We're talking about the market for rice. Okay? The market for rice, price was 60. The quantity was 1,000 units. In that context, right? Government felt this farmer is working very hard, right? It's not even raining sometimes. It's sometimes raining too much. He's doing very hard, but he's only getting 60 for a kilogram. So what does the government do? Government comes and says, look here, I will give you a minimum price. I will say minimum price for a kilo of rice is 80. So what is the government saying? Government is saying, when you are selling a kilo of rice, you can minimum charge 80. You can charge more than that, fine. So that is how they give the product. They say minimum price to buy a kilo of rice is 80. So ekata aduing, or below that you can't buy. Anything more than that is fine. The minimum is 80, right? In this context, guys, we'll go with our normal story. What happens to the supplier? Is the supplier happy now? Yes or no? Is the supplier happy? He gets 80 rupees. He got 60 earlier. Now they're giving him 80. He is happy. So when he is happy, what is he going to do for his quantity supplied? He's going to increase his quantity supply. So now the farmer says, right, he tells his wife, listen here, right, I want you also to come and work with me and grow some paddy with me, because we're getting 80 for a kilogram. So now the farmer and his wife, both of them are in the paddy field. So the quantity supplied now increases. They try to get more stuff and they try to do it. So let's say they say, okay, we are willing to supply 1,500 units. Supply is happy. He is very, very happy now. Okay. But then at the same price, what will the consumers do, guys? When the price of rice went from 60 to 80, what happens to the quantity demand? The demand will fall. The consumers now, who paid only 60 rupees, have to now pay 80 rupees. Problem, right? So the demand falls. So what happens over here? The quantity demand now at this price of 80 is only how much? Let's say it's a 500 units. And what is the problem we have here? Excess demand or excess supply? You have a problem of what? You have a problem of excess supply. So there is a small problem that we come across. Now, can you tell, okay, think logically, okay? In this situation, right, will the farmer go and supply 1,500 units, or will he supply only 500 units? How much will the farmer supply? At the price of 80, he's willing to supply 1,005. Will he actually go and supply the 1,005? Will he actually do that? He won't actually do that, guys. Because if he actually goes and supplies 1,500, he is going to face a huge loss. Because people are willing to buy only 500 kilograms of rice at 80. This joker goes and supplies 1,500. No one is going to buy from him. That 1,000 kilograms, he has to feed his own family there. No one is going to buy that 1,000 kilograms of rice. It's going to be a problem. So this is, right, this is where the problem starts. Yes, excess supply. And if the farmer goes in, hold on, okay, if the farmer goes and supplies 1,500, people are willing to buy only a 500. So he faces a huge loss. This amount of things doesn't get sold in the market. So remember, guys, the farmer will not supply 1,005, because why? If he supplies, there is a loss. He can only sell a 500. So the farmer will only supply how many units? A 500 units. So the supply goes to a 500. So in this context, can you, okay, now I will put letters over here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Yes, government will purchase excess supply. I'll come there. I just not come there, that part, right? Okay, based on this, can you all tell me? Okay, now give me answers quick, right? Let's go faster. Consumer surplus before CS, before. It's how much? It's a A, B, and C. Okay. Produce surplus. Produce surplus before is a F plus G. Now, okay, economic surplus is A, B, C, F, G. B, C, F, and G. Done. Now tell me, in this context, the price is 80. What is consumer surplus? Remember, always the difference between what the consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays. He is willing to pay how much? He is willing to pay this entire part, right? If I am to show this, right? He is willing to pay this entire part, right? He's willing to pay this much. But how much does he actually pay? He actually pays only this much. So what is his surplus? Willing to pay A, B, F, and H. Actually paying only B, F, and H. So how much is the surplus? His surplus is only A. Now go with the consumer, go with the producer. To supply this, right? To supply this, okay, produce surplus. The producer needs X. He minimum needs X, right? But what does he actually get? He actually gets B, F, and H. So what is he getting more than his minimum? He's getting more than his minimum, B and F. So that is his producer surplus, right? So producer surplus is B and F. Then in that context, it is the exact 2020 sum. The sum is not there, the logic behind is the same. What is the economic surplus? It's A, B, and F. Shall we calculate deadweight loss? Deadweight loss. Tell me this. Change in consumer surplus is how much? What is the change in consumer surplus? Earlier he had A, B, and C. Now he has only A. So what is happening? He is losing B minus B. He is losing C minus B and minus C. The change in producer surplus. What is the change in producer surplus? The producer, what is happening to him, guys? He had F and G, right? He is losing G. G went off, right? But he is getting B. Understood that? He's getting B, but he's losing G. That. Now cut off things, guys. So consumer is losing the B, producer is getting that B. That is not lost. This guy is giving, that guy is getting. But if you look at the C and the G, consumer is losing the C, producer is losing the G, no one is getting. That becomes the deadweight loss. Okay. Producer surplus after. Producer surplus after is B and F, guys. Yes, it's only B and F. Okay, that's the deadweight loss. Are we okay there? No H, guys, because H is what he is expecting to get. So producer surplus is what he gets more than what he expects. This is C and G. Fine. Okay, so producer surplus in very simple terms, guys, right? In the producer to supply, guys, you all need to know what is supply, right? To supply 500 units, he minimum expects this price, right? So let's say to supply the first 100 units, he expects to get a price of 10. To supply the first 50 units, let's say 150, he expects a price of, let's say, 15. So likewise, that is the minimum price he expects. But what he actually gets is this much. So the difference between what he actually gets and the minimum that he expects is the producer surplus. That's how B and F comes. That's unit number 2, okay? Not unit number 3, maximum minimum prices. Okay, done. Now this was the question. So if you want to practice a question on this, you go and practice the 2020 A-level question, question number 3, right? Essay question number 3. I can't remember which subpart, guys. I think it's subpart number 3. Subpart number 3 or subpart number 4. One of that. I can't remember the exact subpart, but question number 3 in the 2020 A-level paper. Okay, discussion of it you can maybe check on my YouTube channel. It should be there. Done. Okay, right. I'm hoping you all filled this. Now we'll get into this, guys. Now if you look at it, right, if you look at this entire story, right, connecting to the very beginning. Okay, subpart number 4. Okay, this is the question that you need to practice if you want to do this sum. I don't have the time to do it right now. Okay, right. Now, if you look at it, right, why was this minimum price put? Why was this put? To support whom? It was put to support the producer. But when you look at this, government came like, the big shot. He came like Superman. He said, okay, look here, I am giving you a minimum price of 80. But actually what happened is, guys, the producer did not benefit. No. Without the minimum price, he was able to sell 1,000 kilograms, right? But now, with this minimum price of 80, he can only sell a 500 kilograms, guys. He is losing actually. Even though the government wanted to help the producer, that is why they came and put this minimum price of 80. But even though they did that, the producer did not really benefit. His quantity fell. So the government can't just put the minimum price and stay quiet. They have to further intervene, right? They can't just come and put the minimum price of 80 and go. If they do that, can you see right now, the supply is, there's a problem, right? The supply is losing. So in this context, what they should ideally do, they have something called price support policies, right? So they can't just come and put the minimum price and wait. In addition to the minimum price, they have to intervene as well. Now we are going to study those types of intervention. Okay, be very clear. I'm clearing this. We'll now go into this, a price support policy. So after putting the minimum price, government is further intervening to make sure that quantity is bought. So we'll look at this. So when they say price support policies, there are two, right? So price supporting government purchases and deficiency payment. What are the two? I will explain very easily, right? We'll go with the same story again. Okay. Listen carefully. There is equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity. Government comes like Superman. He says he will give a minimum price. When the government said he will give a minimum price, the quantity demanded was only this much, quantity supplied was only this much. That was a problem. So now, in this context, what do you think is happening, guys? There is an excess supply, right? This excess supply is bought by whom? This excess supply, the government will purchase. Now, according to our previous example, right, the price of rice was 60. The kilo was, government said they will give 80. Equilibrium price was 1,000. Consumers are willing to buy only 500, right? This is 1,005. So in this context, right? So I told you the supply will only supply 500 units because why? The people are not going to buy. But the government will say, fine, at price 80, you supply everything that you want, right? You supply the entire 1,500. So the consumers will buy the 500 units. They will spend this much and buy. The balance, I will buy it from you. The government says, look here, the balance 1,000 units, I will buy it. So I will use a different color. So government will spend and government will buy the balance. This is what you call what? A price support government purchase. Government comes put a minimum price. In addition to the minimum price, the government says, I will purchase your excess supply also. So in our case, can you all tell me how much of an excess supply is the government going to buy? How much units? How many units? They're going to buy 1,000 units worth of excess supply. How much is the government's expenditure, guys? 1 kilo, they're buying 1,000 kilos. 1 kilo is 80 rupees. How much is government's expenditure? They have to spend 80,000. So we look into this one by one again, right? I'll give you all the letters again, right? So A, B, C, D, E, F. This is where the consumer surplus and all is very interesting. I, E, F, G. No, I didn't put H, no? Okay, so we'll go with H, I, N, Z. Okay, now I want answers quick. Huh? Before and after. Before and after. How much is consumer surplus before? How much do we have? CS before. Tell me the letters, guys. Letters. Simple. A, B, and C. Produce surplus before F and G. Economic surplus before A, B, C, F and A, B, C, F and G. All of this we know. Now let's look into the after side of it, right? What do you think happens to consumer surplus? The consumer has to pay a price of 80, guys. So consumer surplus is what area? Consumer surplus, guys, is only A, right? It's only A. Look at the producer surplus of this. The producer is now able to supply 1,500 units, right? He's able to supply 1,500 units. The minimum that he expects to supply, the 1,005 is this. But he actually gets, how much does he actually get? He actually gets this entire part. What do you think is his surplus, guys? What do you think is his surplus? Think. The difference between his minimum and what he actually gets. He's now selling 1,500. Now remember that. He can sell 1,500 now. How much is his producer surplus, guys? The producer surplus now is a B, C, D, F, and Z, guys. This entire part becomes producer surplus. Why? Because he can sell 1,500 units now. He sells this entire part. His minimum expectation is H, I, J, and E. Yeah, but he gets this entire part. So this becomes his surplus. B, C, D, F, and Z. Then what is economic surplus after? What can I put here? Economic surplus after. So you can add all this and put, okay, A, B, C, D, F, and are those two fine? Yes or no? Produce surplus and consumer surplus. This is consumer surplus. The brown area is producer surplus. Now let's look at this deadweight loss. Right? This is the interesting case. Okay, the deadweight loss. Can you all tell me the change in consumer surplus because of this maximum price, minimum price, and government intervening? What is the change in the consumer surplus? What is he losing? He is losing B, right? And he is losing C. Can you tell me the change in producer surplus? Producer surplus. He is getting B, C, and D, right? He is getting a plus B, he is getting a plus C, he is getting a plus D, right? Is that it? Oh, is there some other thing that we have to include here when calculating deadweight loss? Yes, there is another thing. The government is also spending some money, no? Government is also losing some money. So we have to take into consideration the government. Now, in the previous part, there were no government expenditure, guys. So can you all tell me the amount that the government is spending? What is the government spending? The letter is there. Government expenditure. It's C, D, E, J, I, N, G. That brown triangle, right? Rectangle. Government is spending. They're spending C. Okay, spending means I'm putting a minus. They're losing. Minus D, minus E, minus J, minus I, and a minus G. So that is the government's expense. So now you net this off, you will get your deadweight loss, guys. Right? Look here. Consumer is giving up C. Right? Look here very carefully. Guys, how did these numbers are these numbers? These are the numbers. Okay. These are the letters. Okay. So consumer is giving up C minus C. Producer is getting the C. Fine. Not lost. Consumer is giving up B. Producer is getting that B. Minus B plus B. Fine. Okay. Government is giving D, right? The letter D, they're spending. The producer is getting that D. There's a plus D. Cut off. But if you look at these parts over here, the C, the E, J, I, and G, right? Those areas, government is spending, no one is getting. That is your deadweight loss, right? Yes, there are two C's, but you cut one C, one minus and a one plus. You can't cut two minuses with one plus. Okay. No, D is not deadweight loss. D becomes deadweight loss in a deficiency payment. Are we okay with the deadweight loss? Guys, remember deadweight loss, you can cut off and you can get it that way, guys. So what is deadweight loss? It's a C, E, J, I, and G. So if I'm to highlight that in the diagram, it's this area, this weird shape like this, right? Like a t-shirt, right? That is your deadweight loss. This area, yeah. Yes, if I'm to highlight that, this becomes deadweight loss. Okay, remove the crosses to see the letters. Yes, you can go with the letters normal, huh? You don't have to. Yes. Okay. Simply plus and minus. That's how you get that thing, the deadweight loss. Okay, so you all need to know these areas so you can do the calculation, right? Because otherwise you can't do the calculation. So I'm not going to do the calculation here. Those are there in past paper. You can go through the past paper questions and answers and see what you can do. Okay, right. That is that part done. So okay, anything that I missed? Government expenditure. Okay, producer revenue. Okay, government expenditure, we know, no, guys, it is CEGIJED, that entire part. Guys, can you all tell me what is the producer revenue? Producer revenue. What is the amount of money that he is earning, guys? Producer revenue is that entire part, exactly. The entire part except for A, right? Is getting that entire thing. So B, C, yes, 1500 into 80 if you're going to put numbers, right? So B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J, right? Can you explain what happens to D? Yes, so D is there, no? See D here. On our context, government is spending the D, the producer is getting that D. So D is normally there. That's not lost. See, a minus D is set off with a plus D here. So government is spending that D, producer is getting that D. So that's not deadweight loss. That's fine. Right? The others, the government is spending, no one is really getting. That's how that becomes deadweight loss. Done and dusted. The price support policy is, once again, guys, in simple terms, a price support policy is where, right, the government puts a minimum price. After that minimum price, to make that minimum price more effective, they further intervene. One way of further intervening only is this government purchasing the excess. Hey, this is properly, if you're doing a class, the 2-hour area, right? This entire thing is a 2-hour area that I would take to teach, but I have 2 hours for all the things to do. So I can't go into that depth, but maybe whoever who teaches you all in a theory or a revision class will go into that depth. So don't worry. If you are still from the 2022 batch, probably whoever teacher who teaches you will go through that, right? So don't worry too much. Okay, right. 21 people, if you are kind of lost, then there is a problem because your theory and revision classes by now should be over. Okay, done. Okay, this part is done. We look at the next way the government can intervene, or the final part of our unit today, right? The next way that the government, in final part, very interesting part as well. Okay, so where are we? We're studying minimum prices. Under minimum prices, we're looking at two different things. That is government purchasing the excess supply. The second thing is called a deficiency payment. This is what a lot of students don't really know. So let me explain that story once again. Okay, few things, guys. Now here the government purchases the excess supply. No, what do they do with that excess supply? What does the government do with the excess supply? They give it to everyone in the parliament. What do they do, guys? They store it and keep. They store it and keep and maybe put it out later in the market when there is a shortage. Maybe they take it and they export it, right? So they do things like that. Okay, so they do different things like that. But now there can be situations, right? There can be situations that good can't be exported. That good can't be stored as well. In that context, what can the government do? What is the government going to buy and do? Are they going to just throw it away? They can't do that. So in a context like that, right, what will the government do is, right, we'll again talk of the same story. Demand and supply. Government put a minimum price. When the government put a minimum price, what happened? There was a excess supply, right? Our previous part we said, in our previous part we said, government will purchase this excess supply. But now I am saying, what if the government can't do anything with that? Even if they purchase, what if they can't export? What if they can't even store it and keep and put out later? Then what is the point of purchasing that? So in those kind of situations, guys, the government uses something called a deficiency payment. Listen here, this is very important, right? So let's say our equilibrium price was 60. Okay. Our equilibrium price, okay, we'll go with the same example, 60. Government said they're giving a minimum price for the coconut of 80. There was an excess supply. So this is 1000. This is 1500. And this is a 500, right? So can the government purchase now? No. So what will the government do here, guys? This is the most important thing. The government, right? Listen carefully here. The government tells the farmer, right? Look here, I can't purchase your excess because I have nothing to do with that. I can't even store and put it out later. I can't even export this. But I will help you. So government is telling the farmer, you go to the market, right? You go to the market and find out, right? You're willing to supply 1500. Go out to the market and find out and come and tell me what is the price consumers are willing to pay to buy 1500. I'll repeat that again. Government is saying, look here, farmer, I can't buy your supply because I don't have anything to do with it. But I will help you. But for me to help you, I want some information from you. So government says, farmer, you go out to the market and find and come, right? Find and come and tell me to buy 1500 units. For demand to be 1500, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? So what does this farmer do? Farmer says, okay, fine, right? I will find that and come. How do you find that? To buy 1500 units, you need to see, right? You connect to the demand curve and see to 1500, right? At a price of 80, suppliers are supplying 1500. But to buy 1500 units, what is the price consumers are willing to pay? So let's say to buy 1500, consumers are willing to pay, let's say 30 rupees. Let's say 50 rupees. Okay, let's say 45 rupees. Consumers are willing to pay 45 rupees to buy 1500. So farmer found that out. So farmer went back to the government and said, right, government, the consumers are willing to pay 45 rupees. Okay. So government will say, okay, fine, right? I promised you a price of how much? 80. Consumers are willing to pay only 45. You give everything. You give all the 1500 at 45 rupees. The balance I will give you. Guys, what is the balance the government has to give? Government promised 80. Consumers will only pay 45. The balance government is saying, I will give you. How much is the balance the government is giving per unit of coconut? They have to give how much? Guys, how did this 45 come? These are just numbers I put down. There is no calculation here, right? So the balance 35, the government is going to give. So this difference, right? This deficient amount, right? Government promised 80, but to buy the 1500, consumer is only willing to pay 35. So that 45. There is a 35 rupee deficient. Deficient means not enough. So that amount that is not enough, or the amount that is in deficiency, right? The government will pay. So how much will the government pay? The government will pay 35 rupees for 1500 units. So that becomes the entire government's expenditure. So government's expenditure is that 35 rupees per unit, 1500 units are sold. So 35 into 1005, that is their expenditure. Is that clear? That's what you call a deficiency payment. They don't buy, but they give the remaining, the balance, right? Be very clear with that, guys. Price, government purchasing and deficiency payment, not the same. Shape deficiency payment. Yes or no? Yeah, right. So we look at the letters here. Okay, we look at the consumer surplus and all of it now. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Okay. Okay, normal. We'll start with our basics. CS, consumer surplus before AB, C. Right. Produce surplus before. Guys, last thing, guys, give me answers and get done. Produce surplus before FGN, J. FGN, J. So economic surplus is the addition of all of this. A, B, C, F, G, and J. Done. Now we'll go into this. The consumer surplus, right? Yes, this 45 they will not give, guys. This 45 you have to calculate. How do you calculate? Right, that comes with basics, right? You take the demand equation, you substitute 1,500 to the quantity, and you see what is the price. At what price will consumers buy 1,500? So let's say for example you have QD equals let's say 100 minus, I don't know, 5p, right? So you put QD as 1,500 and then you work and you find the price. So if you find the price, this equation is just an example. When you find this only, you will get that 45. Okay, right. Then can you tell me what is the consumer surplus after, guys? Always go with what price is the consumer paying now. Is the consumer paying 80, 60, or 45? How much is the consumer paying? What is the price that he's paying in the market now? He's not paying 80, he's only paying a 45. So if he's only paying a 45, this entire part becomes his consumer surplus, right? Earlier, in a government purchase, he was paying 80. That is why only this one was consumer surplus. But now he's only paying 45. So he's benefiting, right? So how much is our consumer surplus then? It's A, B, C, F, G, H, I. That's this. Think of producer surplus. What is the price the producers are getting? Consumers are paying 45. Producers are getting, they're getting 80, right? Government has promised 80. Consumer is paying 45. Government is giving the balance 35. They're getting 80. No, it's not just J. The producer surplus becomes this entire part, guys. This entire part is producer surplus. He's getting 80 rupees now. Okay. So your producer surplus becomes what? Becomes F, G, and J, what they already had. In addition to that, B, C, and D is also added. That is your producer surplus. Is economic surplus, add and put that, right? I'll not do this. Let's look at the deadweight loss, right? Can you all tell me this change in consumer surplus? Give me numbers now, letters. What is the change? Earlier it was A, B, and C. What is the change now? He has got F, G, H, and I, right? So he has got a plus F, he's got a plus G, a plus H, and a plus I. Okay. Government is purchasing the excess to give the producers the guaranteed price. So why is it being a deadweight loss? Guys, that comes with you not understanding what deadweight loss is. Deadweight loss means someone is spending, no one is getting the benefit out of it. That is why we do the pluses and the minuses. And just go and maybe check again. You should be able to get that. Know the meaning of deadweight loss? It's easy. Guys, what is happening to producer surplus? Earlier he has F, G, and J. Now it's a plus B, a plus C, and a plus D. There's a government expenditure also. Government is also spending something. They are not just getting this. How much is the government expenditure? They're losing, right? The spending B, the spending C, the spending D, E, I, H, G, F. I'm hoping I did not miss any letters. B, C, D, E, I, H, G, F. Right? That's government's expenditure. So based on this, we can calculate deadweight loss now. Right? I will show you how we get this done. Right? Look, government is spending F. Right? Okay. Guys, I will try to this thing somewhere so that you can still see the letter. Huh? Government is spending F, and consumer is getting that F. Minus F plus F cancelled. Government is spending G, right? Minus G. Consumer is getting that plus G. Fine, not lost. He is spending, someone else is getting. No loss. Government is spending H. The consumer is getting that H. Fine. Government is spending I. Consumer is getting the I. Fine. Minus I plus I. Government is okay. We leave the E. Government is spending B. Producer is getting that B. Not lost. Government spending C. Producer gets the C. Government spends the D. Producer gets the D. But this E, government is spending. He is spending. But is anyone getting it? No. No one's getting that. That is simply lost. Gone. Right? So that is that story. So the deadweight loss becomes what? Your deadweight loss is equal to E. Understood? No. That's how you calculate deadweight loss. Don't just memorize the thing. So in our example, deadweight loss is this E part. Cost to the government is 35 into 1,500. Yes. So these kind of things is where you all will get questions. Is the deadweight loss in real world scenarios? It's like this case. In real world scenarios, you will not even have a this thing like this. You will not even have what? Demand and supply graphs like this. Right? Producer revenue is the entire one except A. Yes. So producer revenue is that all the letters except for A. Okay, this is producer revenue. Right? Consumer outlay. Okay, consumer outlay is this 45 into 1,000. Consumer expenditure. This is government expenditure. Right? So guys, those small things I'm guessing you all can figure out. Right? So I'm not going into that depth. I'm hoping you all do have a note and you all are okay with that. Okay. Right. So that brings us practically, guys. Okay. What is better? Right. What is better is we can say a deficiency payment is better because in a deficiency payment, the consumer is also benefiting. The producer is also benefiting. Whereas consumer also pays a lesser price. Producer also gets a higher price. But if you look at an excess purchasing, then the consumer is not benefiting. The consumer surplus is very small, right? Plus that will give a change in economic surplus. By adding changing consumer surplus, yes. Changing consumer surplus, changing producer surplus will give you change in economic surplus. Okay. Guys, so from these situations, right? A maximum price, minimum price. Okay, so you have 4 types of sums that you all can get, right? In your A-level paper. Not 4, 6, right? You have a tax sum. You have a subsidy sum. Or you can get a maximum price sum, right? You can get a minimum price, okay? Or you can get a minimum price with a price support government purchase. And you can also get a minimum price with a deficiency payment. So there are 6 types of sums that you can get in your question number 3, right? From these 6 types of sums, last year they asked this. This is what they asked, minimum price. Okay, listen carefully. Okay, they asked minimum price. The most tested one from this, right? The most tested one from this is taxes. This also they have asked more than enough times. And taxes, you all should be able to do it, right? Okay. And then these also have been tested. In some papers, they have tested this. But this maximum price calculation so far in A levels, they have never asked. That is the calculation that we did today. That black market price, everything, right? They have never asked that before. So that is a sum that you all should go. I am not saying 100% for sure it will come, but that can come, right? If it comes, most of them will not be able to do it because they have not done a sum like that before. But if you all go prepared, if you do it properly, you will be doing way better than most of the others. So this one is the key highlight of today's session, which I wanted to highlight, right? So apart from that, the unit also has the other parts. And then, okay, another small thing, right? Sometimes when they say minimum price, they might say there is a price support system, but they are not saying whether it's a price support government purchase or a price support deficiency payment. Then which one do you assume it to be? They say there is a price support, but they don't say whether price support government purchase or price support deficiency payment. So in that context, guys, if they just say price support and they don't say anything, remember, it's always a price support government purchase, not a deficiency payment. Okay. Minimum price can be tested without a price support. Exactly. That is exactly what they asked in the year 2020, a minimum price without the price support. This is 2020 A levels, right? A minimum price without price support. Okay. So that is that. Okay. So this is this context. Guys, there's also a link on the chat box right now. You all can leave in feedback, any topics that you all would like to discuss, any things on how we could improve, and also so that in the next sessions to come, we can improve. So give me, I have 2 minutes. I have something really important to let you all know. Okay. So how this seminar series goes, guys, this is purely made for all of you all, right? For the 2021 A-level batch, right? There are 2020 people also. You all also can come. It's open 21, right? So as long as anyone comes and learns, we have no problem. We have no issue at all. So guys, these sessions will also be streamed on YouTube, right? So you all can go into our YouTube page in case you missed a part, right? You all can watch it on YouTube as well. Okay, but don't make it as a practice on watch YouTube, because then you can't ask questions, you can't clarify, you can't be interactive, right? You can't do any of that. So in your case, try and come to this on our YouTube page, right? Even the first session that I did is there. So our YouTube page is, you can say RSE, right? UOC FMF. Just search this and see, right? It will also be there in the YouTube link that we would have sent today. That should be there. And also there were a few people who wanted different other stuff, guys. And the past paper, now this is my personal thing, right? So all past paper recordings I have discussed on my YouTube channel, right? My YouTube channel is iTutor SL, right? So on this, unit by unit, I have discussed the book totally free. If you all want to go watch, you all can go watch. There is nothing that I get from it. If you all want, you all can definitely go and watch. Okay, that's that. So we'll do different other things, right? Like that. It is one group for all the subjects, guys. So whenever there is a session, we will inform a day before, right? So don't worry about that. And also, I do classes, guys, but I'm not going to talk about my classes over here. Right, unit 8, I'll do all of that. Okay, few more things on your target model paper book. Once again, guys, all the money goes into yes, the YouTube channel is this, guys, iTutor, right? All the money goes into whether I do classes or not. I'm not here to promote that. You all can find out through some other way. Yes, I do though. So the target model paper book, guys, you all know there is a model paper book that is there. And now, given that you all have time, more extra time for A levels, it's a good opportunity for you all to practice more questions and do all of that. So we will send you all after this session. We will, if you all have not yet purchased, you all can purchase it, guys. The book is priced at 600. You all can maybe pay a little bit more than 600 also if you all want to donate some extra money to whatever family that this money is going to. It's going to provide water for an entire village. They don't even have water. They're not like us. There is no taps. There is no things like that. The wells are also dried up, so they have to walk so long to get water. So all the money that we get will go for that cause. So if you want to purchase, if you want to donate, there were some students, actually I need to be thankful for them. They don't do econ, right? They only do econ. They're art students, but they still donated some money even without wanting the book, right? So that's so nice of you all. Thank you for that. But if there's anyone else, there's anything that you all could do, even in the smallest form, right? Do help us out. That's all from me for today. We'll let you all know when your next session is. Probably, I'm guessing you should have a session on Wednesday, but I will not guarantee if there is a teacher who is there to do, but probably it'll be another subject, not econ, probably accounts or maybe business studies. The payment links for Target, the model pay book and all, I will share it with you after this session. That's it from me for today. Thank you for coming. Hopefully, we'll see you all in some other class. See you guys. Have a good day.
And that concludes the second session of the seminar series for the English medium students. Thank you so much, sir, for that comprehensive session. And thank you all for staying with us today. Hope to see you in another wonderful session. Until that, stay safe and have a great day.